I have the pleasure today being joined by Anne Daines. Now, Anne is a distinguished engineer and cryptographic technology developer at Z Systems for LinuxONE and Z Systems at IBM. And thanks for making time to catch up with me. So great to see you.
Oh, thank you so much, Des. I'm looking forward to it. Thanks for having me today.
It's a pleasure. So, for our audience, just briefly, just to set the scene, we're going to have a great conversation with Anne with regard to her background, her career path, how she came to be in this amazing situation to be both a distinguished engineer and working on cryptographic technology development for both the Z Systems and LinuxONE. We're going to be talking about IBM Z Day 2025, the amazing event. We're going to talk about the flow and the format and what to expect, some of the keynote speakers and the overall tracks. We're also going to talk about some of the opportunities you have available for this event for free. Uh, Around some training and skills. You can not only do some skills development and training, but you can also get some certified badges from IBM that you can put on your social media and on your LinkedIn and so forth profiles, and also in your CV and resume. Nothing like having a brand like IBM certify your skills and training. And I wonder if you could maybe set the scene for us, just to kick us off. For folk who probably know you and feel they know you well, but probably don't know some of your amazing background. I wonder if you could just give us a couple of minute walkthrough on kind of, your amazing career over the last number of decades and how you came to this just astoundingly exciting situation to be both a distinguished engineer and to be working on the amazing space of cryptographic technology development on Z Systems and LinuxONE.
Well, thanks so much, Des. I mean, really, I've had an amazing career with IBM. I am a software developer at heart. I'll just say that. I started my career working in software development, and I've had many different roles in IBM. And that's one of the great things about the company. You can change from one career path to another, or you can work in one product set and go to another product set and still be within the same company. So you have lots of different, opportunities. So I've worked on things like IBM's, first home banking solution. I've worked in finance industry. I've worked on hardware security modules, writing firmware and developing those kind of products, printers, all kinds of things. And the work in actually hardware security modules is what led me over into my career now, or my role now in security. Security is very critical to IBM. It's very critical to the IBM Z platform. And I've worked with a lot of clients around the world understanding what their needs were when it came to security and crypto. And I've been able to leverage that to help strengthen our platform and provide capabilities for our clients.
Amazing. And as you said, when we think of the IBM brand, when we think of the IBM Z mainframe platform, and including the Linux One variation of it, it is quite literally baked into the DNA. And there's amazing people like yourself who are making that actually possible and a natively integrated part of that. One of the things I love about the ecosystem is that whether you're developing, whether you're working in databases, whether you're on applications at the front end in some form, whether it's web or directly in a terminal interface, all of your data, whether it's at rest in the systems, on the file systems, on databases or in applications, wherever, or if they're in motion, the actual platform itself protects that data. And as you said, you've got hardware modules, you've got the architecture, you've got the system software. Um, how does one approach that kind of architecture and design? From when you think about some of the challenges around protecting that data and where that data may be, I can only imagine the types of thinking when you're standing there with a whiteboard marker, or originally probably chalk and a chalkboard, thinking about, where do we start to tackle these sorts of problems? What are some of the types of challenges that, when you think about the work you're doing in cryptographic development and that technology space? How does one even start to think along those lines of where to put your focus and where to think about where data may be?
That's a great question. And so, one thing that I will say is data protection is a joint partnership between IBM and its clients.
Right.
But from the IBM perspective, we believe that it's important to build security into every layer of the stack. So, starting at the hardware, going all the way up the stack, we consider security. We consider what data is being processed or transmitted or stored. We consider how we make sure that the components that are in the system, as well as the software devices, all of that takes security in consideration so that we can make sure that we're doing our part to protect the data that our clients entrust us with.
I love that. I had the privilege of doing a tour and a visit for a few days over a week in the Poughkeepsie site. And one of the things that our audience will be astounded by is on one of the test floors. there is effectively every variation and version and configuration of the IBM Z family, way back to the very first CMOS edition to the very latest, which is now the Z17, just recently launched, and the whole point of the IBM Z 2025 day, which is what we're about to talk about, and right back to essentially the very first, architecture and models. People are still running tests across all the firmware, all the
Right.
code, all the EPROMs, all the updates, all
Yes.
the applications. And I was like, yep, this is why when you run this platform, you can go to sleep at night knowing you are not going to be on the front page of a newspaper worrying about your data being breached, unlike many, many other ecosystems. What When I think about your amazing role and your just astoundingly inspiring career path, and I'm sure there's no such thing as a standard day, but what does a day in the life of Ann Dames even look like? You jump out of bed, you've got this amazing world you work in. What does a day in the life of Ann Dames as a distinguished engineer in cryptographic technology development even feel like?
Oh, wow. Well, my day is very busy and it starts very early. I will say that one of the great parts about my job is that I work with people from all over the world. I work with our clients and I try to understand what their needs are when it comes to security and cryptography. And I work with amazing engineers as we take those requirements and we try and include the appropriate solutions in our mainframe platform. So I work with hardware engineers, I work with software engineers, I work with folks who specialize in networking, all the different kinds of areas that you can imagine. And we talk about the problems and the challenges that our clients face. And then we talk about how we can solve those using the technology and the capabilities we have on the platform. We have a number of forums where we're able to get feedback from our clients, and we take that feedback very seriously as we try to design solutions that are secure, but that also meet their business requirements. Because at the end of the day, they're in business
Yeah.
to do business. And so we want to make sure that we're providing the security capabilities that we need. So I talk to people, I have meetings, I do designs, I work with folks to understand what problems they're working on. I put people together. I'd say, you should talk to this person about that because they're having the same discussion. So things like that. But really, and I do a lot of research as well. I study a lot about the latest emerging technology. I work with groups outside of IBM like NIST. The NIST has a National Cybersecurity Center of Excellence, and I'm a part of one of the working groups there that's focused on post-quantum cryptography. I'm on one of the advisory boards for NIST for information security and privacy. And so I may have meetings with those groups as well, or be providing input into some of the activities that are associated with those groups. So I not only work with my IBM colleagues and clients, but industry partners and standards partners as well.
Wow. I don't even know how you managed to fit all that into a 38-hour day. That's astounding.
38.
I imagine you live in a 9-day week and a 38-hour day. That's any way you could possibly cram all that amazing magic in. Well, I think I'm going to get a t-shirt that says something along the lines of, if you think about security and data protection, you need to talk to Ann Danes. Um, Let's chat about IBM Z Day 2025. So it's
Yes,
coming up on
yes,
November the 12th. And just to summarize what it actually is for our audience. So IBM has their annual IBM Z Day event. It's coming up on November the 12th. Wherever you see this great conversation in this video, whether it's on our YouTube channel, whether it's on digital social platforms and various posts, we will have all the relevant links that you need, starting with the IBM Z Day 2025 event. We'd like you to click on it, go check out the event page, and register immediately and join us on the day. See some of the amazing speakers, such as Anne, who'll be there on the day. And Anne, I believe, we'll come into this in a minute. You're going to be speaking live in Japan. Um,
yes,
the event's described as a free one-day enterprise computing virtual conference for anyone and everyone, where attendees can learn about the latest news and insights from IBM Z and the LinuxONE mainframes, and the industry and trends, the innovations spanning AI, hybrid cloud, quantum safe security, and much, much more. Um, and I wonder if you could just briefly walk us through some of the key points around its format, its focus, and some of the highlights, and in particular, your track, without giving away too
okay.
much, because we want people to turn up on the day and see the full thing.
Absolutely. So, as you mentioned, it is a conference, a one-day virtual conference that's for everyone. It is, if you're a student, you will find something that's useful to you. If you're a CISO, you will find something that's useful to you. If you're a developer, if you're a product manager, it doesn't matter what your role is. If you are a part of the IBM ecosystem or want to learn about IBM and its products and solutions and hear from other people that leverage the technology and leverage the capabilities that we have, this is a good event for you. There are going to be a number of different tracks that we will have. And within each of those tracks, we'll be covering specific topics. In particular, my track is going to be focused on security. And I have the privilege of being the keynote speaker for the security track. And I'm going to have one of my friends with me from TD Bank. I'll leave that as a surprise, but he will be joining me to talk about how he is able to leverage some of the protections and technologies that we have on the platform to help secure their environment and to help them on their quantum safe journey. And so I think that would be very important for folks to come and hear about, because that's one of the major challenges when we think about security trends. The transition to post-quantum cryptography is very high on the list. We hear about AI, we hear about a number of topics, and that's one thing about this conference as well. You're going to hear about different kinds of technology. You'll hear about cryptography and security, which is of course important to me, but you will also hear about AI. You'll hear about our infrastructure. You'll hear about just the experiences of people that leverage our technology. You'll hear from clients, business partners, all sorts of folks that are a part of our great ecosystem. So it's really going to be a very informative day. I think people should come ready to learn, ready to hear some interesting things, and hopefully able to take away some good points that will help them back in their schools, in their shops, and in their companies.
Yeah, absolutely. And the great thing about the event is it's a virtual conference. It's online. It's no cost, as IBM describes, or I'm going to say
That's
free.
right. Mhm.
And all you got to do is just click on the link wherever you see this video and register and turn up on the day, and you'll have some amazing insights. And
Yes.
there are six key tracks. You mentioned there's some amazing
Mhm.
topics. I just want to run through the six key tracks, and we'll sort of pivot back onto those. So this year, IBM Z Days lined up six amazing key tracks or topics, which your audience can, of course, learn more about on the event website. Just click on the link below, and some of them include, and I'll bullet point these and summarize them because they're quite detailed, but there's a lot of information on the website. The first one is do more at the core with IBM Z. And I think this is one where, when I first read about it, I was like, that's an interesting punchline, but actually, it really does speak to the key point, which is keep everything inside the infrastructure, on the chip, on the system, on the platform. The less your data leaves the environment and the hardware and the operating system, the less risks you've got. It's not having to move through different edge points and go through air gaps and other things that will, not air gaps, but just gaps between systems, and risk being breached or copied or man in the middle or something like that. So do more at the core with IBM Z, meaning keep it all on the platform, all on the system. And as you said, you've got dedicated hardware inside the machine itself doing things like cryptographic encryption, decryption, and so forth.
Mhm.
How to get AI value today. Again, it
Yes.
sounds very high level, but some of the detail inside that's well worth turning out for. I think one of the most pressing things anybody in any level of organization, in any type of organization industry today is being faced, is how to adopt, adapt, and implement AI and get benefit and value from that. So that second track of how to get AI value today is going to be so critical for everybody. How to get more from your team and your IT and yourself, how to
Mhm.
protect your critical data and workloads, and you'll be talking live about that from Japan, I believe.
Yes.
How to skill up and take your career to new heights. Now, this is one that I just want to talk about in a moment. We'll come back to it, and particularly, I'm going to want to make a note of some of the training and why you in particular are a champion for all of that. And then there's an innovation showcase of IBM Z and LinuxONE ecosystem solutions. But the previous point there, Anne, I mean, you've been with IBM for 4 decades, and congratulations again on that. And as a distinguished engineer, that just speaks volumes about yourself professionally, personally, etc. But one of the things I think a lot of the attendees should be registering coming along for is there is actually training, and we'll get into that in a minute. I don't want to sort of get too deep into that right now, but there are some tracks on that relevant to all career paths where you can actually get
Mhm.
some free skills, free training, and certification where IBM will literally give you badges that you can put on your CV, your resume, or your social profiles like LinkedIn to say, I've been to the IBM Z Day event, I've done the skills training, I got tested and certified, and IBM's willing to go to the bank with me and say, they had these skills and here's a badge to prove it.
Yes.
Nobody more than you um, can verify and validate the value of this type of skills because your career path and you've been with IBM all this time. But whether it's, I think, and as we spoke off camera just earlier, just to highlight this, and I got a question for you in a moment. Sorry, is that whether it's with IBM, which is an amazing role like yourself can grow into a career path of, or whether it's within the IBM ecosystem of the integrators, resellers, value-added resellers, the VARs, ISVs, etc., or whether it's a partner and a customer.
Right.
You could be with a customer site for 20, 30 years working on the same platform with the same hardware, same operating system, same software, same database environments, whatever you like, or the cryptographic data protection. This is a career path that can give you some amazing life opportunities, exactly like yours. I imagine that's something from this event that people should really be taking quite seriously, that registering for this no-cost free event and listening to people like yourselves should inspire them to think, well, they can be like Ann Dames and
Well, I
get a lifetime career.
That is true. That is true because that is one thing that people will hear about. You'll hear from people from different areas that work in the system or work with the system. And when you see the variety of topics that they focus on or different areas that they cover, you will find it very interesting. And one thing about the Z platform, you can work in one specific area for a while and then change to another area and develop totally different skills, new skills, and you're going to be at the leading edge of technology. So you will be scaling up as well as skilling out. And so it's really a great opportunity. And I'm very grateful for the opportunities that I've had to learn about different kinds of topics and to be able to build on skills, develop additional critical thinking skills, all sorts of, just tools that I have in my tool belt that allow me to take on new challenges. And so that is one of the great things about the IBM Z platform and the ecosystem. You will learn about all kinds of technology and you will learn about the folks who work on that technology. So IBM Z Day is a great opportunity to learn and to excel and to build skills. And as you mentioned, get badges in areas so that you can get a good feel for what some of these key areas are about.
Indeed, I recommend everyone make the effort to turn up on the day and see amazing speakers like yourselves. And I want to just dive in a few of the other speakers in a moment and get as many of those badges as you are able to. I forget how many there are. I think there might be four or more, but they're well worth the time and effort to not only register, tune into the event live on the day, be part of the Q&A, but invest the time to do those skills training sessions and get those badges because they will carry you through your life, and you might even turn out as amazing as Anne. So just want to highlight some of the keynote speakers and presenters for folk just to set the scenes for who they can look forward to. There's a number of others, but these are some of the ones that really jumped out at me. I just made a note of. Obviously yourself, Anne, as a distinguished engineer in IBM for decades and decades working in cryptographic technology development. We have Tom McPherson, who's the general manager for IBM Z and LinuxONE. Meredith Stow, who's the vice president of the IBM Z ecosystem. Tina Tarquino, a dear friend of mine, who's the Chief Product Officer for IBM Z and LinuxONE, that we fondly nicknamed the Queen of Mainframe. Elpida Zotzatos, and I apologize if I got the name pronunciation wrong, who's an IBM Fellow and Chief Technology Officer for AI on the IBM Z and LinuxONE platforms. A really amazing track to tune into there as well.
Mhm.
Skylar Looms, who's the general manager for the IBM Z software. Now, they're the IBMers. There are, as you mentioned, you've got a range of guests like your own fellow who's turning up from, I believe, a financial services industry organization, and many, many more. So across that whole community, there's some amazing tracks, amazing topics, amazing things to look forward to. And when you think about these community events, and in particular IBM Z Day, we've spoken about a lot of the key things. We've talked about the flow and the format. We talked some of the tracks, some of the topics. You've been to a number of these. You speak at them, and I'd like to briefly pivot onto your live talk coming from Japan in a minute. Um, what sort of things should be attendees sort of be thinking about to plan for these things? Obviously, we want them to register. We want them to jump on the day. But for myself, I turn up with a pen and pad and make a lot of notes. Some people might have an AI app that records and transcribes it. But what are some of the things that you recommend people do to sort of just get the best out of these events? I know there are a
Yeah.
lot of things like some people talk about watch days. I often recommend people just book out a meeting room and invite a few people, get some sandwiches and coffee.
Mhm.
What are some of the ways that you've been able to get the most out of these community events where there's some amazing tracks, amazing topics, amazing people, so that it's just fun and engaging, but also you can get some key takeaways and walk away not only having heard and learned things, but actually go and put them into action?
Absolutely. That's a great question. So, one of the first things I think you should do is register, of course.
Yep.
Register and block your calendar. Don't plan to be multitasking during this event because you could miss something very important. But I think it's also very important to go to the site and look at all the different topics that will be covered. From there, you can jot down questions. You can do some research in advance just to prepare yourself for the topics and see if there are any questions that you would like to ask. Because during the event, you will have that opportunity. You'll have a chance to put questions into the chat or be able to ask your questions so that you can get that feedback right away from the speakers as they're covering the different topics. But I think if you prepare, decide which topics you want to attend, which tracks you want to follow, I think that will help you in a great way. And I love your idea of getting together with a couple of other colleagues or students and watching together, because I think you will definitely be able to learn from each other as you are pivoting off of the information that's being shared. So I think those are some of the things that you can do to get the most out of the day.
Absolutely. Some great ideas there. Thank you. Now, I'd like to get you to wrap us up in a minute with a bit of crystal ball gazing and maybe tap into some of the things you'll be talking about coming to us live from IBM Z Day in Japan. But just let
Mhm.
me quickly, if you wouldn't mind, just pivot back to the skills element, because I think at the risk
Yes.
of sounding like I'm trying to drum this into people's minds, it is very rare that a brand like IBM will give you access to this level of information from an event across the community, as
Great.
well as skills development and badge certification. So there's actually four areas that people can look forward to when they not only attend the event and all those six tracks and all the amazing speakers we outlined. There's actually four key areas around skills development where IBM has developed these digital badges where attendees can not only learn new skills and gain access to industry recognized learning and knowledge development, but also these digital badges you can use. The four areas include AI and data, which to me is just
Mhm.
a reason in itself. If everything else wasn't exciting, that in itself is a reason to register. Security, of course, which you've spoken broadly to, and will be speaking broadly to, as we'll cover in a moment from Japan. Modernization. Now, this for me is a really big one because I think this is something that people forget that we're doing on a daily basis, whether we're updating or maintaining or adding new features. We are, in effect, modernizing things. We're making it current and future-proofing it. And then broad IBM Z skills. Now, we talked about that briefly, but just to touch on that again, Aaron, I think people should really come to this event with the idea that what they're going to hear about is going to future-proof their roles, future-proof their business units and their working environment, future-proof their organizations, but future-proof their life. And that when you look at this fourth element of IBM Z skills, you can literally become an Ann Dames as a distinguished engineer somewhere, whether it's at IBM or a partner or a customer, with decades of experience and an exciting career path. And I think that's something these days where people are having to reinvent themselves every few years, learn new skills, learn new jobs, change industries. That's a really exhausting way to live, having to jump from rock to rock, change jobs, change lives, change industries, and retool all the time. Being able to do that in an ecosystem where you've got a support infrastructure, a safety net, and great peers and mentors just is
Mhm.
beyond value. So the AI and data, security, modernization, IBM skills, all four great reasons above and beyond everything else to join.
Mhm.
And I wonder if you could do a little bit of crystal ball gazing to wrap us up. And I'd like you to maybe just touch on some of the things that you're talking about with regard to your track and some of the things you're going to be covering there when you're speaking live from Japan for IBM Z Day 2025. If you were to look into a crystal ball from a virtual sense and with your unique lens that you see the world through, give us some thoughts around what you think, and we won't hold you to this and we won't consider it investment advice. But when you think about what's coming along in the next 12 to 18 months in both
Mhm.
AI and data protection, particularly your space of,
Yes.
of, of security, what are some of the things that people should be talking about from CEO and boardroom down to the developers and DevOps and DevSec people and all in between operationally to make sure that they're well and truly geared and engineered for the next 12 to 18 months to be ready for it, to adapt to it, or adopt to it across all the six
Mhm.
tracks we've talked about, all the four learning areas, and particularly what you're talking about. What sort of conversations should they be having? What sort of takeaways should they get from the event? And how do they protect
Mhm.
themselves from tripping up some of the things that they can actually plan for?
Okay, that's a great question. And so when you think about all the different tracks that are going to be covered, when you think about them, with respect to what you're going to hear that day, you're going to hear emerging trends. you're going to hear what you can expect to see now and what the new things are that are available on the Z platform as it relates to those topics. But you'll also hear about futures. And when you think about security, one of the key things that we realize is that adversaries are getting smarter. Okay. When we think about it, the attack surfaces are getting easier to find out about, but also more challenging to protect against. And so, one of the things that you will hear about during some of our sessions is how you can go about preparing yourself for emerging threats, how you can go about getting your system and your organization educated and starting to create a culture of security around these different topics that are so very important. One of the major things that I'm going to be talking about and focused on in my chat is related to post-quantum cryptography. One of the things that IBM does, we have an amazing research organization. And part of that research organization is focused on quantum computing. And quantum computing is going to unlock innovation like we haven't seen before because quantum computers are going to be able to solve problems that we have not been able to solve before when they are sufficiently strong. But the problem is that adversaries will use quantum computing, they'll use AI, they'll use these technologies that we're creating for good to do bad things. And so, as we talk about the different topics, you're going to learn about how you can protect yourself and how you can make sure that you are aware of the kinds of challenges that your organization might face as they're trying to leverage some of the new technologies. And in my session, I'll talk specifically about the quantum threats and I'll talk about what folks can do and how the IBM Z and LinuxONE platforms can help you on your quantum safe journey. We're getting to a point where, in the not too distant future, experts believe that we will have a quantum computer that could potentially break the cryptographic protections that we have been using for a long time. And so we'll talk about that in our session. But in each of the different tracks, you will hear leading edge comments from these experts to help prepare you for the challenges that are associated with using that technology and also being protecting yourself and protecting your organization as you use the new technology. So that's one of the benefits I think that folks will see and from being able to attend the IBM Z Day. They'll learn a lot and they will see a lot of interesting things happening because just as people might use a quantum computer for bad things, they would use AI for bad things. So we want to make sure that we're protecting the data. We want to make sure we're protecting the models. We want to be sure that we're educating our employees and anybody that might be leveraging the technology so that they won't get tripped up by someone who's trying to use good technology for bad reasons. So I'll just stop there for a second and see if that
Wow.
answers your question.
That nailed it. And on that note, I don't think there's any better sales pitch than I could even imagine to not only register wherever you see this video and click on the link that goes directly to the event site, register, attend on the day, take some notes. And what a pleasure it's been to catch up with you. I look forward to having you back on the show again soon. Can't wait for your track on the security element and cryptographic technologies and so forth, and the development you're doing there on the day. But in the meantime, safe travels. We'll look forward to seeing you on the day of the event. Really appreciate your time today. It's been great to get to know you, get to know your background, your what a day in the life of Anne's like, and some of the great things we'll be talking about on the day. Yeah, again, folks, we really appreciate you tuning in, watching this. Wherever you see it, click on the link, go to the IBM Z Day 2025 event and register. As Anne said, there's so much for everyone to take away. Bring a friend, take some notes, and plan to make a day of it. And thanks again. Really appreciate your time, and we'll look forward to having you back again soon.
Thanks so much, Des.
Absolute pleasure. Cheers.